Well, listener, what a day, what a week it's been. Alex Lebel here with Will Caves, You'll Never Talk Alone podcast. Will, how are you doing after today?
I don't know. I'm sad that I believe the Ox has made more appearances this season than I have on the podcast, but I'm happy to be back at least temporarily. And I feel great about the 3 points, but we got them in the most annoying way possible.
Absolutely. And you are in the brilliant win fit kind of podcast appearance performance. So we always love to have you on here, but schedule's not working out. You keep pulling hammies, keep pulling your calf. I don't know, your Achilles snap, something like that. But like you just mentioned, 3-1 victory over Burnley, away from home, against the elements, against Thor himself, causing the rains. Will, what did you think of this match?
Well, which match? There were two. I felt like today the first half was completely different than the second. The first half nearly put me to sleep. Burnley looked way better than we did. They were up for it. They were ready to go. Burnley they're not quite our bogey team because we do manage to beat them, but they always give us a good run. And I was a little nervous going into this fixture, especially, we did beat Everton, but did we really beat Everton? Like that, we won, but we didn't beat them. And I was afraid that maybe our luck was going to catch up with us today and karma was going to prevail. But with the run of fixtures that we've had coming up, you had to rotate. I'm not surprised at the first half performance. That doesn't mean I wasn't disappointed by it, but I wasn't surprised to see it. And at the end of the day, we managed to pull it out and win. But I didn't love the first half.
No, I don't think anybody did, because I know in our text thread and online, you could just see the reactions being, oh my goodness, all of our concern with the 7 changes in the lineup was completely justified. We look like a team that is playing a bunch of people that haven't really played together before. We lost Joe Gomez in the first half, so it was 7 changes, 7.5 changes really, because Gomez was going after 20 minutes, and that is absolutely heartbreaking because he has been so good, and it looks serious. The club is already talking about him probably being out for a while, and that absolutely sucks. He's one of the unluckiest people because he always seems to be having a great run of form and then picks up a niggling injury, but this seems a little bit beyond that. But yeah, we were awful in the first half. I thought there was one shining light, and we can continue to talk about him a little later as we talk about the improvement in the second half. But Naby Keita, we finally got to see the player that we wanted to bring in from Leipzig. And what kind of effect did you think he had on the midfield, especially in the second half, but even in the first half?
So before I answer that, I would like to kind of reiterate, you said there was one shining light. Before Gomez went off, I thought he was playing really well. He has been, in any other season would have easily been our best defender so far this season. But when you have Van Dijk, when you have Alisson playing like they have, he doesn't get the accolades he deserves. I wish him a speedy recovery. I hope he comes back very, very soon because he's been such a rock. But in terms of Keita, I was so disappointed that he wasn't able to find a goal. He had 2 really good chances. One was the rocket with his left foot that Hart managed to save, and the other would have been, such a Naby Keita goal with the back heel. That would have been great.
And he had 2 other chances in that run of play to score. It was ridiculous.
For sure. That it just wasn't in the cards for him tonight. But he, so far this season, he's had flashes, but this was the most complete, performance and the most complete display of why we bought him. He's great. He's I won't say he's exactly what we're missing, but he could very well turn into a key component, moving forward and could provide a lot of spark that we've desperately needed at times this season.
Yeah, he certainly helps. He might not be what we're missing, but he certainly helps. And it was it was telling to see that it's usually Milner that's everywhere and out and about. And I think that actually helped Keita in this match, that he was allowed more of a free role. Because I think there was an article on Football Whispers that kind of highlighted that Keita had been really restricted to the left side of midfield, and it had limited him in his output. And you could see today that when you just let him do whatever, it turns out really well.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was doing a great job of bridging midfield and attack and defense and attack. But it really started to click in the second half. One, after we conceded, weirdly enough, and two, after Milner scored, it was like a completely different team had taken the field. And I know our usual host, Joseph Craven, mentioned that it would have been super easy for us to pack it in and play for the point and just know that, look, it's Turf Moor away at, even though they suck, they're Burnley. And like you mentioned, they've been a bogey team for us, and we kind of historically have faltered there. But this is a new look Liverpool, and this is a team that doesn't look to give up. And I know we had some people had mentioned in the thread that we have that we don't see us scoring twice. We don't see us coming back and win this. But what do you think it means for this team to go to a place like Turf Moor and come from behind back to back years? The goal that took the lead, almost a mirror image of the winning goal last season. So what do you think that means for the squad?
Well, I think it just signifies the steps that we've taken under Jurgen Klopp. I mean, you wouldn't have bet on us doing this under Rodgers. You wouldn't have bet, certainly not under Hodgson.
I thought Hodgson was the guarantee that I thought we would have done this under, because we were
Right.
behind in every game.
Exactly. I mean, you just didn't. What Klopp said a couple of years ago about turning doubters into believers, this is the kind of result that does that. The Everton result for sure, but it's Everton, and so like sealing the victory over your rival doesn't really do much to boost your morale. It's just like a big middle finger to the other half of the city. But this is the type of game away at Turf Moor that we would have dropped points any other year. But somehow over the past 18 months, we've really gotten it together. It's been great. I think this is what we needed, was to be able to beat win these type of games. We've always been able to beat Man City. We've always been able to beat Chelsea. We could do that. Even in our bad years, we would somehow rise to the occasion. But these were the games that we lost. And I think beating them twice, 2 times in a row at Turf Moor, great step forward. I just hope it continues. I worry, a little bit about our depth and a little bit about the run of fixtures, but I mean, we're there. We've had our best start to the season ever. Why does it have to stop?
Yeah, exactly. And this is finally a match where we can acknowledge the best start to the season ever and not be like, well, it needs to improve. And while we do acknowledge that it does need to improve, we can enjoy this type of win more than a lot of the wins that we've had this season. And like you did mention, I mean, although we will get Mane and Robertson back likely this Saturday, um, the depth could be a bit of an issue for us coming up, because we did look really bad in the first half, and it did take the introduction of Bobby and Salah to really solidify us as the team that was in the ascendancy in this match. So to me, it looks like Origi more than Sturridge, but both players just seemed to lose control of the ball anytime it got close to the 18-yard box.
Mm-hmm.
They just kind of forgot how to dribble. But of course, once I said, look, we got to get Origi and Sturridge out of there, is when Origi got the assist to Milner.
Right.
So you're welcome, everybody, for sending that, and the curse of the commentator and all that.
Well, it's, as soon as I said, man, Gomez looks good today.
Yeah.
He also got injured, so you're also welcome for that, listener. But no, one of the things going into this season, well, in the transfer window, summer transfer window, we had to get a goalkeeper. Everybody knew it. It was a blatant hole. We had to shore up the midfield, and we did that. I said, I believe on one of our first podcasts going into the year, that I wish we would have gotten, or maybe the window wasn't closed yet. We needed another wide player. We needed a winger, or a striker, sure, but we needed a winger specifically because of this run of form, or run of games rather. We're about to play twice a week for the next 3 weeks ish. Mo's going to get tired. Mane you know, you can't predict, you can't train for a cut on your foot. Like that just is
Right.
a freak thing. And he's somebody's going to get sick. Somebody's going to, pull something, just like Gomez. And I worried about that aspect of it. And if we're still in 2018, and in the year of our Lord 2018, if we're still pulling Divock Origi off the bench to come in as backup to our wide players, something has gone wrong. I think we've got to address it in January.
I definitely agree. That was definitely in your camp that we needed another option out wide, and it doesn't appear that it's Harry Wilson for the season, although he's doing very, very well at Derby. But I
I don't know
think
what
that,
Harry Wilson has to do. Sorry to interrupt. I don't know what Harry Wilson has to
yeah,
do.
I really don't either. If he can't get a shot in the squad after the season he's having, then for his sake, he just needs to
He's
go
got to
somewhere
go. Yeah,
else.
he's got to go.
Yeah. But I definitely think I know we tend to shy away from business in January of late, but it would be a little remiss of us to not at least look at it because we're Liverpool. Everyone on our team breaks into 1,000 pieces, and as we've seen in the times where we've rotated heavily, we don't have the depth we necessarily think we
Mhm.
do, and I think we need to fix that.
Well, I
But
think I think one player is available. His name rhymes with Kulisic, and he would be great.
yeah,
Jurgen,
Dario
if you're
Husidic,
listening. Yeah,
former MLS player.
right, exactly. Perfect.
Or Baggio Husidic. He has a weird first name. His last name is Husidic.
Oh, okay.
I think he's a commentator now. But someone who is not a commentator and someone who you did mention that we did sign and someone who has pretty much won us 2 games in these past week is Allison. I mean, I am still just, I don't even know how to say it without getting a censor about how I'm feeling about that save and distribution he made at the end. But I mean, it, it's a pretty softball question, but I'll let you expand on it. How great is it to have a goalkeeper that wins us points?
It's just, I mean, there are multiple instances over the past 2 games that either of our former keeper, either of our most recent former keepers would have, been scored on, would have fumbled the ball, would have done something. Um, I mean, even in Burnley's goal today, they kicked the ball out of his hands. He had the save made, and it just it's tough. That I hate that they scored on him, but like my goodness, how good is he? He's making ridiculous saves. I thought his performance leading up to the third goal was incredible. I mean, he kept the ball in play. He himself was out of bounds, but kept it in. Did a quick turnaround to lead, to give the ball to Sturridge. I thought that was fantastic, and I just it's really what he and Van Dyke bring to the team are just it's just ridiculous. I love it.
Yeah, and you've seen the clip circulating social media of him kind of pulling Van Dijk and Gomez away from the scrum at the end of the Everton game, and ultimately ended up leading to the goal. But it's so nice to be able to count on someone back there
Mm-hmm.
and to trust that if something happens, he can pull off the magic like you've seen the past 2 matches. And I mean, the fact that it went from potentially 2-2 to 3-1 in a matter of seconds because of his long arms and his intelligent play, it
Mm-hmm.
just it's hard to even comprehend as a Liverpool fan what it's like to have a goalkeeper that can bring that to the table. I mean, this is weird to say as an attacking player like I am when I actually play, but I almost didn't even care about the third goal because I was still so hyped about the save
Mm-hmm.
and keeping it in play and distributing. Like it was just that good. And I'm just so happy he's here. I just can't get over how far he stretched and to tip it onto the post. And oh man, and you're right. Their goal wasn't really his fault. It got knocked out of his hands. He was wrong-footed, and we left 3 people essentially unmarked in the
Mm-hmm.
box on a corner. It looked like we were trying to play the offsides trap, which is a very strange approach to defending a corner. So definitely need to fix that, and definitely need to learn how to win attacking headers on corners slash
Mm-hmm.
beating the first man on service. But at least when you have him back there, you can assume that it's more than likely not going in. Knock on
Well,
wood.
and I think anybody that listens to this certainly, or any Liverpool fan that's been paying attention the past couple of years, probably has heart palpitations every time. Even now, even with Allison, every time they play the ball into the box, just reflex, because of our previous goalkeeping performances. But he is slowly but surely proving us all wrong about his price tag, but also relieving the stress that has built up over the past 8 years since Reina left.
Yeah.
I mean, it really has been since 2010, 2011, I believe. I could be wrong, but whenever Reina left, it was the last time that I was confident in a goalkeeper before now.
Yeah, and even then he was kind of going downhill a little bit when he left. He
Mhm.
had those kind of peak years when we challenged for the title in 08, 09, but then he kind of dropped off after that, and then Beach Ball Gate happened.
No.
But now we don't have to worry about that because we have the giant pink wonder in net, and he is not letting anything pass.
Mm-mm.
Before we move on to looking ahead at Bournemouth, I know we both were able to listen to the audio of the match, and let's just have a discussion about whoever the hell the color commentator was, because he was just insufferable, I think is the most appropriate word.
It was not even like he was biased like for Burnley or anything. It's just like whatever bar they found him in before the game, he just needs he just sounds like a guy that's just deeply unhappy with life. Uh, you know, just go have a beer, man. Like he was awful. It took away from the game until Burnley scored. That was the highlight. There was nothing else going on. Just to listen to him complain the whole time.
It
And
was distracting.
yeah, it was.
He just disagreed with every call that the ref made. Like, well, no, it's not a foul. No, why did he blow that back? The ball's not rolling. No, that wasn't their throw in. It's just like, who are you? What are you doing?
Hmm. But
Oh,
what
yeah.
did you think of our well, actually before I ask that question, who we haven't talked about, and that's a good thing, is Moreno. He
Yeah.
he didn't screw up.
He died for a second. It looked
He did.
like immediately after Gomez went off. I was like, oh, good, we're gonna have to burn two first half subs. But I mean,
Yep.
he just did stuff. Like he
He
didn't.
was there.
One thing he did that kind of made me mad was there was kind of an aerial duel, and he tried to head it, and he just missed completely. He hit his shoulder and fell right to a Burnley player. And it was like, okay, come on, Moreno. But after that, he didn't really do anything wrong. He didn't really do anything right, but it's nice so far to have a backup that's not just a complete worry. And it's a bit of a shame that we don't have that at the right. Not saying that Gomez is bad, but we don't have a backup right back essentially. And so I think that is something to look at as well.
I don't know what's going on with Klein, but it's just he's obviously not even
And
remotely in Klopp's plans at all.
yeah,
He must be stinking it up in training. But I did notice with Moreno, he personally didn't screw up, but more often than not, he was up there with Origi and Henderson or Milner or both were covering the left back slot. And it just, please get well soon, Robertson.
yeah.
Please.
It was like a TBT to the first half of last season before Robertson came in and everybody was having to cover for him. I mean, he had an absurd amount of back heels. Like he was up there with Origi, and he was just like back heel flick city over here trying to play him in. So I mean, at least he's somewhat confident. Maybe the celebrations with Mo and Shaq at the end of the Merseyside derby really empowered him.
No, what I was going to ask you a minute ago was what did you think of because assuming Mane doesn't play at the weekend, because cuts are kind of weird. You never really know about that. With Sturridge kind of playing a withdrawn, like 10 and a half almost, like what? I didn't hate it. I mean, he certainly wasn't the farthest man up at any point, or very rarely.
Yeah,
I thought his distribution was decent. I wish there was one chance where probably it was in the first half, I believe, when they played the ball over the top and he tried to trap it and just went out of bounds. But if he would have old, 2014 Sturridge shoots that and rockets in the top corner,
yeah.
but he tried to trap it. I think he still doesn't have his full confidence back yet, but I love Sturridge. I mean, he's great, and I wish that he would come back in full form. But what did you think about him?
I thought he did fairly well. Of the two strikers, he definitely played better. It's just, it's he almost had that one shot that Joe Hart tipped around the post, which I
Hmm.
would have loved to have seen him score. I think it's just really he's playing well. It's just going to sound bad. It's really sad to see him being so slow.
Hmm.
It's so obvious how much of his pace he's lost. But his ball through for Mo for the third goal was absolutely superb. He still got it on the ball. Didn't have it sometimes when it was close to the box, but I mean, I get it. It was pouring down rain there,
Hmm.
so some bad touches are acceptable. It seemed like when he and Bobby were in together, that Bobby was able to play where he likes to play, further forward, because he knew I am Sturridge's legs, and I will go up and pressure when I need to, and Sturridge
Hmm.
can feed me. So I think that relationship can work, and I think he and Shaqiri coupled well,
Hmm.
because they didn't get in each other's way, which can be the tendency for a lot of those attack-minded players that don't play together well.
Hmm.
I think it's potentially something we could see this weekend and in some of these other fixtures. And a comment on Shaqiri, I love the fact that every time he gets the ball, he is able to turn and go at people. He
Oh yeah.
always finds a way to turn and get around defenders, and that is something we have missed for a long time in this
Hmm.
midfield. It is fantastic. I was trying to figure out a way to text it, but it would have taken too long. But he always like receives it with his left and turns to his right around defenders, and it works every time. I don't
Hmm.
know how he pulls it off, but
It's
I
that
love
low
it.
center of
I love
gravity. He's only 2 feet tall. I mean, it's really easy to do. Uh, he he has really been, I guess, if you know, Mo was last season's success story and Allison is this season, Shakira is right there below. I feel like he has really I was a little worried about like how he would fit in because I mean, it's one thing to be Stokes' best player
right.
and try to come in, but he's really done well. I feel like he has filled the hole that Ox left with his injury pretty well. I
Yeah.
do think I mean, I wish we had Ox and Shaq, and maybe we will eventually. But I, I've been nothing but pleased. He hasn't. I mean, he's done a couple of things. It just that I wish he would have done a little bit better. Not today. Today he had a great game, but just over the season. But I've been nothing but happy with him. He's been really fun to watch.
Yeah, and he absolutely one of the bargains of the summer
Oh
for
yeah.
any team. Like
Oh yeah.
you can see how he's been able to be on these really good teams in his career, and you can see what coaches see in him. And you
Hmm.
always knew he was a really good player, but you see him playing smarter. 'Cause, I
Hmm.
mean, when he was at Stoke and even some of his time at Inter, he had to just try whatever to try to make something happen.
Hmm.
But here you can see that he can show off his passing a lot more. He didn't have to do all the tricks and flicks. He can just be really good,
We
and it
just see why
works
Bayern wanted him a long time ago.
absolutely.
He
Yeah,
just is a
and
really good squad player to have.
yeah, he's quality. I don't know how any of his shirts fit, but I love it.
What size do you think he wears? Just wondering.
I don't even
Two
know.
X with like modified sleeves.
It
Um,
has to be because he's. I mean, it's like a 2X, but small height wise.
right, right. Uh, it's yeah, he's been good. I will say that I just called him a squad player. He has started 4 games in a row. So I mean, obviously not really that much of a squad player, but he- his goal tally has been more than I ever could have asked for. I mean, sure he's missed a couple of sitters, but I mean, he's just kind of like you don't really need him to score. I mean, you always need goals, but you don't really like. He's not. We didn't sign him to score goals, but he is scoring goals, and that's really good. Um, I think and he's kind of a human meme at the same time. So that's the combination of those two things. He'll be around for a while. People will love him for a long time.
And yeah, and he's just, I know it seems true of everybody, but for him, he just seems so happy to be at Liverpool under
Yeah.
Klopp. He just loves it. Like his celebration when we scored the winner in the derby, just him just slamming down the jacket and then just looking like crazed at everyone. It's just, it's so much fun. Yeah, I mean, and he's the closest thing we have. So, I mean, you can see some of our performances. You can see why we went after a player like Fakir in the summer, but he's kind of the closest we have to that type of player.
Hmm.
And that's not even really why we brought him in, but he's just good at it, and it's helping us tremendously.
For sure, for sure, for sure.
And oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and he's been really fun to watch, and has really when he's on the field, it's not. I thought it would be more of a step down in quality from our front three, but partially because they've all been playing pretty poorly. But it's not really that big of a step down. He's really slotted in seamlessly.
Agreed. Yeah, and he's helping them get back to the form where they were last season.
Hmm.
And there, well, let's hope he can continue that trend if he even plays this weekend. And for us Americans, in the Balls early 6:30 a.m. Saturday kickoff slot
Ugh.
against Bournemouth. I mean, kudos to the FA for finally accommodating Champions League teams in England, but it's just sucks for us because it's hella early. So, Will, what are you expecting us to line up like? And do you think we'll? I mean, seven changes again. I mean, those changes would obviously be putting a lot of people back in the lineup, but
Hmm.
yeah,
I would. Bournemouth is the type of team that will come at us, and so I wouldn't be shocked to see Fabinho back in. Um, I think you'll see Salah come back. Wouldn't be shocked to see Firmino back. I don't know. His Klopp's changes have been so like he's been so insistent on having that midfield, that midfield three that you know with Henderson being banned for Napoli, I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, he's probably going to start against Bournemouth. So maybe you see Henderson, Fabinho, Keita, which I wouldn't hate honestly. I think that's a good midfield. Um, I think we'll have to see. I don't know. It kind of depends on who's still injured at the weekend. I hope Robertson's back.
yeah,
I hope Gomez. I mean, obviously hope Gomez is back, but if he's not going to be back, I hope it's Lovren. Which I mean, Zach and Joseph and Andrew are screaming. I can hear them in the background from saying that. But I'd rather Lovren over Matip all day long. Uh, and so it's the lineup is hard to predict right now, but I wouldn't be shocked to see most of our starters back in.
yeah. I think Mo and Bobby come back in at least for 60 minutes,
Hmm.
and I know we have a huge match against Napoli midweek, but we do need to keep winning. And especially we're playing before City this weekend, and
Hmm.
us, if we can win, which I really am confident that we can and hope that we can, that would put pressure on them to get a result away at Chelsea.
Hmm.
And that's some pressure they haven't really felt this season.
No.
So it'd be interesting to put that on them and see how they react. I don't even know what to expect in the midfield. That's really my only place where I think that's really the only place where there's a lot of options to choose
Hmm.
from
Hmm.
because the front three are so nailed on when fit, and the back four, I mean, they're either injured or nailed on starters. So especially with Milner playing so much today, I could see him getting a rest. Could definitely see Fabinho coming back in. I mean, now I'm after today, after it was obvious that Keita is here. I'm just waiting, and I know we've talked about this, and you think it's a little too aggressive, but I'm just waiting for the Fabinho, Keita, Shaqiri midfield because I think that, in terms of where they like to play and what they like to do, that's actually the most balanced that we have.
I
Because
agree.
you
No.
you put Fabinho deeper, you put Shaqiri a little more attacking, and you just let Keita be Keita,
Hmm.
and eventually that just wins, just
Well,
dominates.
and Bournemouth is the type of team that you could do it against because
Yeah,
Bournemouth is going to play. They're not like
yeah,
Burnley they play rugby. They don't really play the same sport as Liverpool played today, and they're the new Stoke now that Stoke's gone. Burnley is the new Stoke, and Bournemouth is not though, and I could very much see us, um, go both teams going at it from kickoff, which I think lends itself to Fabinho number one, but also to a more open game. Obviously Keita will have more of the ball. Shaqiri, depending on Mane's fitness, may have to play out wide. That's why I would say maybe we don't see him just because Mane is out, and also because Henderson is suspended against Napoli.
Right.
I think Henderson will start at the weekend, which is the only reason I think you may not see those three. He could throw a curveball and Wijnaldum come back in. Um, I don't know. It's me interesting.
Yeah, I think the big thing I really want to see because it's frustrated me this season is sometimes you see players kind of hinting at that step forward or showing that they're ready to establish themselves and then they get rested, which I get because we have a ton of games, but I would like to see the people when they start playing well get more momentum in the side. It kind of seems like I mean obviously Allison was going to play all the time,
Mhm.
but it kind of just seems like Shakiri was the only one that really played well and just earned his place in the side. And
Mhm.
he's in there until something happens and he's
Mhm.
not in there. But some of the other players, they've shown glimpses and then just been sat for the next match, at
Yeah.
least started on the bench. So I'm torn between wanting that midfield this weekend or wanting it against Napoli because I don't know if Napoli are ready for that, especially with Carlos hubris that he's showing. So I mean, I don't know what to expect from that. It's it's so hard to not look ahead to Napoli because that's our biggest game of the season so far. But we have to win this match, and people get pissed about worrying about City, but you gotta realize they're really freaking good, and it's gonna take a lot from us to keep up.
Well, I mean, this is the match that you have to win because I think Chelsea will want to bounce back from
For
today at their loss to Wolves. And
you know,
I mean, what better way to bounce back than to beat City? This City team. So I think you're right. I think we this is a game we have to win. Have to put pressure on them. I don't know. It's hard not to get frustrated though. Like when you look at the stats and like no team, there's only been two teams in the past. I saw somebody tweeted today. There's only two teams in the past 15 years that have had more points right now than us. And it's like 05, 06 Chelsea, which I mean, that's like Drogba, Lampard, like that
yeah,
Chelsea and City last year, I think. Or no, City this year. Sorry. That's it. They're the only two teams that have ever had more points than us right now in the
yep,
past 15 years. And it's so frustrating. But I think if it's going to happen, if we're going to, pull ahead or catch up, um, this is the fixture. But
yeah,
you hate to say that because like Bournemouth is must win. Napoli is also must win by some weird equation of goal margin. And then we also have United next weekend.
right.
So it's the next week is going to be really stressful.
Yeah, but let's see if we can start it with a win. So I'll ask you what do you think? What do you think the score is going to be against the Burnt Mouths?
Uh, I think we Bobby has scored now. Again, I think
Newly
Mo.
facial haired Bobby.
Right? Yeah. What? I don't know what that man. He's. I don't even. I just shake my head. Who knows with him? Uh, he scored again. Mo looked really sharp. He hasn't looked sharp lately, but he looked sharp today. Um, Shakiri, obviously, like we said, looked sharp. I think we could really maul him if we get out, score early. We could really just pile it on. I would love to see it because we need the goal differential to jump up. But yeah, I think a solid 2-0 is what I'm going to say. I think
I like it.
The form Allison's in, I don't know that they score.
I'm feeling just as confident. I'm also really hoping for Jefferson Lerma to score an amazing own goal like he
Hmm.
did for Arsenal. I'm expecting him to also extend us that courtesy. And I mean, Allison's playing so well. You never know what's going to happen. He's going to swat a shot and it's just going to go in.
Oh yeah.
So I'm thinking 5-0, three
Wow.
Jefferson Lerma own goals and two
Well,
Allison goals.
there you go. Allison
So
does need a goal by the end of the season. I think it's got to happen.
I mean, he could definitely kick it that far. It wouldn't even have to be that
Yeah.
windy. He could kick it to the goal. And if for some reason Begovic comes up for a corner at the end of the match, I want Allison to have a go.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
The stupid thing is in fantasy, keeper goals don't count for more than a defender goal, which is ridiculous.
That should like an instant 10 points, I feel like.
Absolutely. And keeper assists don't count for more than defender goals. Like, do you not realize how difficult it is for them to do either of those things?
Right?
Ugh. Ugh. So, all right, that'll do it for us this week, listener. Tweet at us at YNTA Podcast your frustrations with Fantasy Premier League, like why they don't count hockey assists, because Trent should definitely get points for that free kick that he served in today. And tweet at us your score predictions, lineup predictions, thoughts on everyone. Tweet at us what size you think Shaqiri wears, because we are just completely dumbfounded at how they could make a shirt that size. But yeah, check us out at ynta.pod, well, not at ynta.podbean.com to get your written content, your episodes. Go back and check on our relegation picks and make fun of whoever has been the most wrong. Will, anything else to say before we leave?
Since my appearances are not guaranteed, if you don't hear from me before Christmas, everybody have a happy Christmas.
It's true. We don't know when the next injury crisis will strike. But it was good to have you back this week, and hopefully we can have you again next week after we talk about all these goals that Allison and Jefferson Lerner are scoring.
Please.
So, thank you, listener, and we will talk to you soon.